In Die of Death, you basically just play as a civilian most of the time when you're trying to grind chance for killer, or in this case, evilness. Ooh, spooky. But as you're a civilian, I think that one of the main things that make this game so unique from other asymmetrical games is that what you get as a civilian, your abilities, right, is random. You're given 3 cards to choose from, and you can choose between these 3 decks to get a random set of abilities. Usually you get at least 2 abilities per deck, and these decks are pretty, most of the time having the same abilities, which is kind of annoying. But let's go into each of these abilities and dissect them, and I'll also rate them on how effective they are and how much they can screw you over in most cases. Caretaker. This ability is very simple. Basically, you swing out a bottle and you pour it in the direction that you're facing. It's very important that you're always on top of the survivor that you're trying to use this ability on, otherwise you're gonna miss, which is really annoying. You can also run while using this ability, so you can move a little bit. So if you're trying to heal someone and they just start running away from you, just run after them and use the caretaker ability. When you get this ability, you get a decreased amount of max HP to compensate for your ability to heal, which is that's fair. So yeah, you start with 75 instead of 100, so it's pretty balanced. I'd say this ability is like an A tier, considering that you can heal players. It's pretty solid, but most of the time this ability can also get you killed if your survivors don't stand still and take the heals, because then you're just sacrificing yourself for literally no reason. It's kind of annoying. Punch is your standard stun ability, basically like, guess 1 through D7's punch. It's pretty simple. You just have a punch, and you can punch and punch forward. This ability is pretty easy to dodge though, as the windup is pretty long and you can see it going from afar. But make sure you back up pretty far, because sometimes the hitbox can be really weird and it can be super annoying when you get hit. But the end lag you have when you fail to punch is very punishing, so yeah. Don't miss your punches, otherwise you're gonna die. It's very important that you use these punches for, very dire situations, like if the killer is like right on top of you, not when the killer is like pretty far, because then they can just regen all their stamina. And trust me, the stamina regen in this game is insane, so doing that would be like signing your own death ticket. So yeah, I think this ability is pretty solid. It's an A tier. Block. Definitely one of the better abilities. Considering that each killer has wind-up time, it's pretty easier to predict when a killer is going to swing, because of the fact that they all have wind-up time, especially Killjoy, because he has the longest wind-up in the game, and he has the slowest attack in the game. So yeah, this ability is pretty solid. You usually are always going to be guaranteed a block as long as you don't do it too early, because, like I said, they have wind-up time. Every killer has wind-up time, so if you time it just right, you'll always hit your blocks, as long as you're effectively, utilizing it. Usually most killers will try to bait you, but just don't fall for the baits. Just wait for the wind-up time. It's just that simple. This ability is an S tier, because not only do you get a free block off, dodge a hit, but you can also use this as a way to get health back. And you can use this to block a lot of things. You can block Badware's Rift, you can block Killjoy's Killbots. It's pretty freaking good. So yeah, this ability is an S tier, 100%. Dash. Definitely one of the more useless abilities now, considering that this is no longer able to go over Artful's walls, which I think is really freaking annoying. This ability basically makes you dash forward, and it's usually used for when you have no stamina left, but when you use this ability, your stamina bar goes red, which basically when your stamina bar goes red, it means you can't refill stamina during that duration, which is really annoying. So even though you do dash away from the killer is probably going to have enough stamina built up to catch up to you with literally no effort, and you're going to be waiting until that red bar goes away so that way you can get your stamina back. So it's kind of like it's pretty much sucks. I think this ability is pretty in chase, so I would give this ability a C tier, at least in my opinion. Adrenaline. This ability is incredibly weak now because of the new stamina, changes. Considering how fast killers and survivors can get their stamina back, it's like killers don't even have to sweat when it comes to adrenaline users, because even though you get a massive speed boost and you go like across the map, killers have 20 extra stamina compared to you, which means they're probably going to catch up to you regardless of whether or not you have adrenaline. And depending on the killer you're going up against, and the adrenaline is practically useless. Plus, not to mention the end lag you get after it's just like, why? The only time I would really say that this ability is worth using is if a killer is the one sprinting at you while you haven't sprinted at all, because then they're going to waste all their stamina trying to get to you, and you can just use your adrenaline to get away, having full stamina, while they're trying to replenish their stamina back. That's usually the only time, but other than that, it's just pretty useless, especially in a chase. So yeah, I think this ability is like a C tier too. It's pretty whack. Cloak, definitely one of the more underrated abilities, I feel like. This ability is mostly useful in last man standing, especially considering that if the killer is like right on top of you, you can just cloak so that way they can't see you. Because the thing about last man standing is the farther you are away from the killer is when it starts to reveal your location. And any ability that can reveal your location automatically nullifies Cloak's entire gig. Because when you're revealed as a person who cloaks, it shows a little tiny dot that indicates where you are, which means the cloak is completely useless. This also works on Pursuer's stalk ability, so if you have something that can reveal the killer's location, then that's pretty much just going to tell you where he is, which really sucks. It's really freaking annoying. But yeah, this is a pretty good ability for like avoiding killers from chasing you and then having them go in opposite directions. But yeah, I think this ability is like a pretty solid B tier. It's not overpowered, it's nothing too crazy, but it's not super weak. It has its viabilities, but I think it's like an average. So yeah, a B tier. Bonus pad is a pretty interesting ability. When used, it causes you to stand in place and then start immediately building this little bonus pad, which this bonus pad basically acts as like a speed boost. So anybody that walks over it will gain a temporary speed boost, which is pretty useful for outrunning fast killers like Pursuer and Harkin, usually when she's in a rage state, of course, right? It's a pretty freaking good ability, and one that you can use to loop killers more efficiently, assuming you get it off, and is extremely strong in last man standing, as you can use this as a way to, you know, place a bounce pad place a bonus pad in a looping spot, and then you can just, you know, use it as a way to loop the killers in that looping spot, and they can't do anything about it. No matter how much they try, no matter if they try to juke you out and make you take opposite directions, they're pretty much just cooked, and they can't do anything. So yeah, I think this ability is pretty freaking good, and it has a really good synergy with another ability too. So yeah, this is a pretty good ability. I think it's an A tier. Could be better, but sometimes most survivors will end up leading the killers towards you when you're building your bonus pads, which really sucks, and that could get you killed. But yeah, I think this ability is pretty solid. A tier. Hot Dog, similar to Caretaker, except instead of healing other players, you're basically healing yourself. When you use this ability, you consume a hot dog, which heals you a little bit, but in return, it also consumes a bit of your stamina. You basically lose stamina every time you use this ability. This ability can be used infinitely, and you can pretty much just use it until you're completely out of stamina, and, you know, now you have asthma. Your torso also becomes bigger every time you consume a hot dog, and like I said, you can use this infinitely, so who knows what type of shenanigans hot dog users can pull in public lobbies. Most of the time, this ability is pretty useless because the HP that it gives you doesn't really compensate enough if the killer is already on top of you and they're targeting you. So I would honestly say that this ability is like a B tier, if I'm being honest. It's not super useless. I just think it's not really good for if a killer is targeting you. So usually you just want to use this when you're like really low, if I'm being honest, and you can get away from the killer. So maybe like combined with Cloak, you could cloak away, use this hot dog, you know, etc, etc. You get the idea. So yeah, it's like a B tier in my opinion. Revolver, definitely one of the more better abilities. This ability is a higher damage dealing version of Punch, and essentially acts as like a long range stun, right? Just like Chance from Forsaken. You already know how I feel about long range stuns. I think they're extremely strong, but in this case, for this ability, it's way easier to dodge than punches, but I would say that this ability is way more effective when it comes to stuns, because you could use it on low stamina killers who are trying to get their stamina back, and then you can punish them severely for it. But that's also the problem. You shouldn't really try and hit a killer when they're getting their stamina back, because you're basically just letting them stand still to get their stamina back. It's better to try and interrupt a killer as they're chasing you, but that's the thing about this ability, because unlike having a bigger hitbox like Punch does, it has a way slimmer and thinner hitbox, which means it's much harder to hit in some cases, but it's usually pretty good for interrupting abilities like Artful's abilities and Badware's computers. You get the idea, right? it's a pretty solid ability, and instead of having like a long cooldown, every time you shoot it, you have to reload it and then shoot it again, right? I think that's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool mechanic. It's very effective for, you know, interrupting killers from doing their abilities. So yeah, I think this ability is pretty solid. I don't think it's super strong though, as it can be super punishing if you're trying to use this ability, especially considering that survivors could just bring the killer towards you when you're trying to reload and then kill you on accident. It's really annoying. So I think this ability is an A tier. It could be an S tier, but it's way too punishing for it to be an S tier. So yeah, A tier. Taunt is definitely one of the more underrated abilities. I actually think it's way stronger than people seem that it is, because if anything, it's kind of just like it's just like block, except you get invincibility rather than HP back. And it also makes the killer slowed when you do this. Basically, you taunt and it creates a little radius that gets bigger and bigger over time. Mostly this is recommended to use if the killer is pretty on top of you, as if you use this too late, then the killer could just see that you're using the taunt and then just back away, because the hitbox when it starts off, the radius, it's pretty small and it gets bigger and bigger over time. So yeah, pretty easy ability to dodge, but can be somewhat unpredictable if the taunter uses it right. And also, it's not super punishing, but I mean, taunt allows you to get away way easier, because after the taunt, then the killer becomes slower, which is it's pretty freaking good, especially when it comes to killers like Harken or Pursuer. So yeah, I think it's way more easier to hit than block, if anything. But yeah, pretty good ability. I would say it's an S tier, if I'm being honest, because the things you can pull off with this ability, especially considering that it gives you invincibility for a bit afterwards, it's pretty freaking good. Multiple taunts can end up slowing the killer a tremendous amount, which is really good. This ability, if anything, is way more beneficial to your teammates too, because you can use it to slow the killers, like I said. So you can use it to protect your teammates instead of just protecting yourself, like block does. I mean, technically you can do that with block too, but it's way more riskier. It's if anything, way easier to use taunt to protect your teammates. So yeah, it's an S tier, 100%. And you also have a chance to get these two special decks from the card pool, where you can basically get these cool little combos. Both of them right now have to do with Caretaker. So yeah, let me show you them. The first one is this purple card, which basically makes your avatar purple and also gives you a purple you know, western hat with hearts on it. Basically, this is the revolver plus caretaker combo, and it makes it so that way every time you shoot your gun and you connect your shot, you heal some HP back. So I think that's pretty cool. And you know, given the other things about it, you know, it's a pretty solid deck. I think this is an S tier deck. It's pretty freaking good, and yeah, pretty freaking strong. And for the other one, which is the bonus pad plus caretaker combo, basically instead of the bonus pad boosting the teammates and yourself, it instead heals your teammates and yourself. So again, pretty fantastic and broken you know, ability. I think this one's stronger than the purple deck. So yeah, this one's pretty freaking solid. I would say that this one's an S tier too. So yeah, pretty broken combos. It's really cool how these synergies work. I like that they have these little combo things. And yeah, that's all the abilities and stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave your opinions on the abilities in the comments and stuff. See ya.